How did I get into data engineering? That's a great question. I started off as a software engineer, building apps, front end, back end. And one of the core mantras that I live by that I learned from a mentor of mine at Airbnb, and we carry this on over here at Mage, is don't let your role define your responsibilities. So when I was at Airbnb, we were still a small company, small organization. We didn't have dedicated roles for data engineering, or at least not what you know of today. We had some folks working on data infra, things like that. And so there was just a ton of opportunity to help in any way possible, help the company succeed, help other developers in certain areas that they weren't familiar with. And so I got to really explore, spread my wings, and try other things, working on tools like Airflow, working on building dynamic pipelines, working on feature data, core tables, targeting data, audience data, all that. So really got to you know go to uncharted territory at the time. And that's how I advise a lot of people, is just to do something really good at work and start expanding outwards. Try helping other teams, work on other areas in the company that you think might be beneficial. How to learn and adapt continuously in a rapidly evolving field. I love this question because there's just so much knowledge out there, and you know every there's this thing, imposter syndrome, where you just don't feel like you're a part of something. And the truth is, most everybody just learns on the job. It's the matter of how hungry you are, how curious you are, how collaborative you are, and how willing you are to learn and be uncomfortable. Again, another mantra we live by, that I live by, that I learned from a mentor at Airbnb and now carrying over one of our core virtues at Mage, is do things you're unqualified for. And, everything you do that's amazing and great in life, you've never, might have not done it before. It might have been your first time. And there's a saying, if you wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. So to that point, we always got to be learning. So how do you do that? Personally, I think in personal life, personal growth is very important. And this can be, things like meditating, self-reflection, reading books, both fiction and nonfiction. I think there's not enough emphasis on reading fiction books. It really expands your mind. And then read nonfiction, of course, you learn from other real world experiences and lives. Another way to really grow continuously in your workspace is work with other teams, help other people on other projects, get involved in areas of the business that you never were exposed to before. If you're just working behind the scenes, not on a product that's closely tied to the user, do something where you can get exposure to the end user, or do something in marketing, or do something in FP&A or fraud detection, things like that. Or work on open source projects, contribute to those communities, be a part of those, and you'd be surprised how much you can learn from that, and how much you can use a lot of that experience to get you into new areas, new opportunities. Everyone wants experience. You need experience to get experience. It's a paradox. It's like a chicken and the egg. Well, how do you create that experience? And that is, working on open source projects. What is an upskilling plan you would provide to a beginner in this field? For example, learn Python, followed by data science, or what other plan? I think there's a ton of ways to go about learning something. My tried and true way to learn something is by doing it. You can read a ton of books, a ton of things, theory, all that, but nothing beats hands-on coding. Now, I do admit there are some things that you need to learn a little bit ahead of time to learn the fundamentals, why something works the way it does, for example, machine learning. But at the end of it all, build something. And I don't mean just build, some random to-do app or Twitter clone. Think about what gets you excited. Maybe you're a foodie. Maybe you love movies. Build an IMDb. Build something that helps you automate the way you find food on Yelp, for example. I think crossing your passions with the skill set that you're trying to learn will be the most motivating and energizing way to learn, to get through the hard stuff where you're just racking your mind around something complex. This will push you forward and get you really excited and help you wake up every day and just can't wait to work on something. So that really helps you learn and upskill your knowledge and abilities in this field. Now, how else do you go beyond just that? It really working again with other people, other teams, you learn a lot through that. I've learned so much through working with others, them reviewing my code, I'm reading their design docs, them giving me feedback on things, just hearing people talk and hearing people speak and present in meetings. You learn so much through osmosis. So try to expose yourself to that as much as possible. How did you measure the impact of your work, and how did you communicate it effectively with other stakeholders? The answer to this varies depending on what team you're on, what level you are in terms of in your field, in your function, and the projects that you work on. So, for example, let's say you're L3, L4, L5, which is let's say fresh out of college, or senior data engineering or senior engineering. Typically, a lot of the projects you work on is scoped. It's well scoped. You can work on it. You can ship it yourself. You can deliver it yourself. And let's say it's a project that impacts the end user. Let's say signups. You're building a new login screen or optimizing the login screen. So you set aside ahead of time, hey, let's measure whether this is successful or not. A/B test. Does new signup screen increase signups by a appropriate margin? Run the experiment, it succeeds. When you performance review, you can say, hey, I shipped this, and particularly this new login page increased signups by 10%, for example, and you can prove it with numbers. So showing the impact of your work through numbers, through experimentation and those metrics is an easy way to communicate that. Now, the more challenging type of projects to measure the impact of and communicate would be things like shipping a new tool that increases developer productivity, or a tool that has helped decrease number of incidents. Those you typically can't A/B test easily. And so, yeah, you can argue, you can put some metrics around that, but those numbers, for example, decrease in sub-zero incidents, it's an output metric that many different efforts and initiatives contribute to. So how do you isolate yours? Well, some things you can do is you can use qualitative metrics. So you can, let's say you're building tools for developers and it helps increase productivity. Ask them to describe what was their workflow before and then now what was their workflow after. You can use a lot of these user quotes, internal user quotes to help you measure or communicate the impact that your project provided. Things like decreasing incidents, you can explain how your specific feature, let's say hypothetically, you added more unit tests or integration tests. You can estimate the number of incidents that occurred before and then how many incidents occurred after shipping this feature. And of course, you want to give credit to all the other initiatives that played a part in decreasing this. This is actually something that we did back at Airbnb. Our whole team spent 6 months just shipping things to decrease incidents and increase the reliability. And it was drastic. It went from double digits to very low single digits. So that we were able to measure. Now, how do you effectively communicate this? Well, some things we did was we had a monthly business review with all of the organizations that we service. Now, if you scale that down, you can have some sort of regular sync that you have with your stakeholders. Let's say you're building something for another team, or another team is piloting your internal new library. Meet with them regularly, every week, every month, and tell them what you do is, this is how we structure our monthly business review is, highlights, lowlights, and then what was accomplished, what wasn't, and what you're going to accomplish for the next month or whatever interval. And so in those, you can agree ahead of time what you're going to ship, what you're going to deliver for them. And that way, in the next meeting, if you do deliver those that you agreed upon, well, that's a success. What advice would I give someone new to data? Well, I'll start with general advice and then I'll do something specific to data. First off, anyone going new into anything, find something you're passionate about. Find something that gets you really, really excited. Find something that just doesn't feel like work. They say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And so if you want to get into data, find something about data that checks those off, that you're excited about, it doesn't feel like work, that you're passionate about. Now, let's say you found that already in data. What other advice would I have? I would say read as much of code from other people as possible. Find folks to follow that give great advice, that create good content around this. There's a lot of folks out there. Zach Wilson, Ben, the Seattle data guy, Joe Reese, Chad, Sarah, Mark, Mehdi. There's so many amazing people in this data space. I named a lot of them in the data engineering space, but they put out so many great bite-sized advice at a high level, like at high level career advice, but also a lot of tactical, immediately implementable advice that will make your work better, easier. And so I would follow them and then learn from them. That's another way. Also, find a community, join a Slack, join a Discord. The data quality camp Slack that Chad created, amazing. There's amazing people in there. It's a very awesome community, very active. Join those. Find meetups. The Seattle data guy, Ben, he hosts the best data meetups in all the big cities across the US. Go to those. You can meet a lot of great people. Find a community. You'll be surprised. The data engineering community is still really growing rapidly, but still small. So everyone's there to help each other. It's a really awesome community. So find community.